Are you interested in being the most authentic version of yourself? Creating space for growth, connection, and real change in your life? Vulnerability is the way to go. I'll be honest with you, I hate being vulnerable. However, I will definitely say vulnerability is what has made me grow the most. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm glad that you're tuning in. My name is Angelica, and around here we talk about how to create a life that feels good and not only looks good. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what vulnerability is and why it's so important, a personal story of when vulnerability led to personal growth for me, practical ways to start embracing vulnerability in your life today, and the benefits of vulnerability. Firstly, I want to talk about what vulnerability truly is. And simply put, it's about being honest with yourself and those around you. It's about showing up fully even when there is no guaranteed outcome. There's mainly uncertainty and a lot of risk, but no one said it wasn't good risks. A common misconception about vulnerability is that if I'm vulnerable, people will judge me or people will hurt me. The truth about being vulnerable is that it creates more opportunities for deeper connection and authentic relationships, not only with others, but with yourself. Another common misconception about vulnerability is that vulnerability equals weakness. And just because you're vulnerable, that does not make you weak. If anything, that makes you courageous and strong for being able to stand true in how you're feeling, who you are, even when it's out of the ordinary. Vulnerability means showing up authentically with no certainty of the outcome, being emotionally honest, especially with yourself, on what it is you feel, asking for help, and admitting that you do not have all the answers, because no one does, and that's okay. More often than not, a lot of people will avoid vulnerability due to not wanting to be judged, due to fear, rejection, or feeling weak. But if you've been on any form of a personal development journey such as you've definitely learned that growth is on the other side of discomfort. And so when you're getting a little bit of a discomfort, especially when being vulnerable, that is normal because it's uncomfortable to grow. And when you think about it, vulnerability truly just attracts deeper respect and trust for one another, because when you're being vulnerable, you're being honest with yourself and with those around you. Going into a more personal story and sharing with you my experience on being vulnerable, especially in ways that are uncomfortable and unusual for me. Something that I tend to struggle with is struggling and being honest about that. Sure, I talk about it on social media and I talk about it with my therapist. But outside of that, my friends kind of have an idea that this is something I struggle with, but I don't necessarily provide too much details or really ask for help. This is something that's super foreign for me as I've been trying to be more vulnerable and being honest in what it is that I need and how others can help me. A few months ago, I actually sat down with a close friend of mine to let them know, hey, not only am I struggling with mental health, but here's what that looks like for me. You know, I become, for lack of better terms, lazy, right? I don't want to wash the dishes. I don't want to clean my house. I don't have the motivation to get up and do things. I am constantly worried and thinking all day long, on high stress alert the entire day, you know, things of this nature. And ultimately shared this with my friend and shared with them what does my day-to-day look like and how it would be helpful for them to just reach out to me, because I also have a feeling of not wanting to be a burden. So acknowledging, hey, this is a struggle for me and I will do my best to reach out to you. Also, as my friend, it would be super helpful if you were to reach out to me, especially when you notice that I've been distant, or if I verbally tell you like, hey, I'm going through a tough time. It would really be helpful for you to, you know, just be aware of what this looks like for me and be aware on how you can help me. Honestly, this was such a big step forward, because even if my friend did not reach out to me, which they did, which was super helpful, even if they did not, I can tell you just personally being able to speak up for what I need felt so foreign yet so good. It felt like I'm getting closer to advocating for myself and truly being able to be vulnerable and have deeper connections with people. Ultimately, my friend did end up reaching out to me and kind of checking in on me, something that they never did in the past. And I knew that it was not only helping me with my mental struggles, but truly helping our relationship to become deeper and more authentic. Now, I don't want to necessarily just talk about the good things, because with being vulnerable, with going through your healing journey, there are so many things that are going to happen that you may expect and that you definitely will not expect. And there's not just good things that come with being vulnerable. There are sometimes things that can be challenging to deal with. And so I want to give you an example of a personal story on the flip side of me being vulnerable. More recently, as I've been being more vulnerable, especially with close friends of mine, reached out to a friend and let them know how I was feeling about our relationship. And ultimately, letting them know that, this is not necessarily your truth, potentially, right? I am just sharing with you my experience in our relationship. It means a lot to me, and I would like for us to get closer, and I don't feel as though it's been reciprocal. And I've sent a long message regarding this to my friend and was met with unresponsiveness. As you can imagine, being vulnerable as is takes a lot of guts, and it cuts deep, right? When you are being vulnerable and you're met with something that is the less than ideal situation. I'm here to tell you that that is completely okay, and if anything, super expected. And I'm glad that I did it, because this created an opportunity for me to get a closer look at my relationship and really understand if this is truly authentic for who I am, who I'm becoming, or is this something that was more of a season? It's important to surround yourself with people who accept you, who you authentically are. Not saying that you are perfect and nothing about you has to change. That definitely comes with being a friend and expressing to someone things that they may be lacking and things that you can point out to them. We definitely need that. I'm more emphasizing on if you're sharing vulnerable things with someone and there's certain things that you need from someone and they're unable to provide that for you, that's okay. That's not their fault or your fault. It's just an opportunity for you to reflect that relationship. And that's exactly what this opportunity was for me. Ultimately, my message here is that when being vulnerable, you may be met with support and or led to a breakthrough. Regardless, both of these experiences have led to so much growth and learning about myself, about my needs, about my wants, and about how to advocate for myself. Be authentic and learning that vulnerability is okay. And being vulnerable is what's going to lead me to being myself authentically and growing deeper connection. Now let's talk about practical ways that you can really implement vulnerability in your day-to-day life. If you've watched any of my videos, I emphasize start small on literally anything and everything that you do. It's much more important to create habits that will stick with you. Start in the smallest way you can think of. And something that was super helpful for me when getting started is just noticing something super simple. You do not need to write this down, although if you want to, that would be super helpful in your day-to-day conversations, interactions with yourself and others. Think on if you're holding yourself back. If someone asks you for something and you feel something, maybe you feel regret, that you feel like you're people pleasing, you feel like you're not getting the support that you need from someone, or you feel bothered by something that someone has said to you. You don't need to instantly start letting people know that. What helps more than anything is realizing and reflecting, I'm in this situation, I'm getting a feeling, and maybe you're unable to identify that feeling in that moment, which is totally okay. This is the process that we need to go through in order to eventually get to the other side of that. So identifying, and maybe you are able to identify the emotion. You recognize that I am feeling upset right now. Maybe you don't recognize exactly what it is that's upsetting you, but you've now noticed that there's an emotion tied to something that's happening in this moment or relative to this moment. These are things that you just want to take note of in your mind, and if you journal them, that would be even better so that you can create a track history. But as I mentioned, starting small is much more important, so whatever is going to work best for you. A question that you can ask yourself is, what would it look like if I was to be honest here? And honestly, my favorite thing to do is journal, because so many things come to mind when you're journaling than you would just normally be thinking. And at the very least, you can keep track of it and understand your thought process as time goes on when you are journaling. Not to mention that no one's going to see this journal, of course, unless you share it with them, but you can be as honest and brutal and offensive and frustrated as much as you want on paper. Let it out so that you can evaluate where is this coming from, so we can get closer to being vulnerable, to getting to the root cause of whatever it is that's showing up for you. After journaling, I definitely say the next step would just be being able to sit within your own emotions before sharing them with anyone else. Practice self-acceptance. If you're feeling sad with someone, practice accepting that, allowing yourself to feel sad. I feel as though very often, especially for me, if I'm feeling a particular emotion, say sadness, I will think to myself, I shouldn't be sad right now. Maybe they didn't mean it. Time is going on and I'm still sad. Like, you know, I put a lot of pressure on myself because, I don't know, I want to get over it, or, you know, whatever it may be. But what it truly is I'm not accepting myself. I'm not accepting that whatever it is that just has happened has made me sad. And so once you've reflected on whatever it is that's happening, the emotions, the feelings that's coming with that, accept that. Allow yourself to feel that emotion. Show compassion for yourself. And then once you're ready, share these thoughts and feelings with someone that you trust. You can start small and practice getting bigger and bigger with your vulnerability as time goes on. But at the very least, when you start with someone that you trust, you already have a little bit of those gates already down. So it will be a little bit of an easier transition for you when starting your vulnerability journey. And it's going to feel uncomfortable, and it's going to feel uncomfortable for a long time. Vulnerability is not something that just happens overnight, but more so like muscles. You truly have to practice more and more to get better at it and stronger at it. So if it's uncomfortable, that's okay. We really need to fight through that discomfort and continue to practice vulnerability. Ensure that you're using I feel statements instead of hiding behind logic or excuses. As I mentioned, that self-compassion, it's okay to feel, even if it does not make sense right now. And I don't want to make it seem like I am expecting trauma dumping, and that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not saying share everything with everyone. We definitely need to make sure that we set boundaries. However, in order for us to truly identify what those boundaries are going to be, we need some trial and error. We need to try out the vulnerability. We need to see how that makes us feel. Who do we feel comfortable with? What are going to be the different healthy boundaries that we set? We're just not setting boundaries for avoidance purposes. We're setting healthy boundaries, but in order to get there and to determine that, we truly need to be vulnerable. We'll go through some trial and error, and ultimately as time goes on, we'll be able to better identify what's going to be best suited for you. After you've self-reflected, you're self-aware, you're practicing self-compassion, you're journaling, you're sharing it with someone else, another way that you can practice this is just by asking for help. Even if it's for something small, as simple as, hey, I need your thoughts on a project I'm working on. Would you mind if we met up for coffee so I can get your thoughts? It would be really helpful to me. Literally anything that comes to mind for you. It will be a great step towards that vulnerability and speaking your truth, your feelings, and asking for help when you need it. Now, we've saved the best for last, and I want to talk about the benefits of vulnerability. If you haven't picked up all of the benefits that I've been dropping throughout the video, this is where we're going to talk more specific on how this is going to benefit you, not just for now, but for the long run, for your family, for generations, how this will help. And of course, going to start with just greater self-awareness and clarity on who you are, how you feel, what your relationships with others truly are, and speaking on that truth. Knowing that your voice and feelings truly do matter, and they especially will matter to those who care about you. Stronger, more powerful connections with others and yourself. Just imagine a space where you are allowed to be yourself. You have feelings, you have emotions, you have thoughts that come to mind, and without hesitation, feel safe enough to express those to those around you, and know that I'm not weird for thinking this way. There's nothing wrong with me feeling this way. I am creating opportunity for our connection to grow deeper by presenting this to them. If you think that you're doing them a service by withholding that information, you're truly just keeping your relationship on the surface, and we're gonna have to go deeper than that in order to have those deeper connections. So bringing up struggles that you may have is only going to create more opportunities for connection. By being vulnerable, you feel more aligned, more alive, and connected with who you are. Without a doubt, it will definitely help with mental health and just reducing the stress of hiding your true self. With more practice, it creates authentic confidence where it's not something that you're faking anymore. You are in tune with your emotions and your inner tuition, and you're able to express that in a way that does not belittle you, and you show self-compassion and you show compassion for others. You're now allowed to truly be confident because you're rooted in the actual truth, not on a lie. And it also just leads to a more fulfilling life. This is primarily because you are living in a life that's more aligned with your true values. And how do you know that? That's because you're doing the work to identify where these feelings and emotions are coming from, to be able to speak onto them, to be able to get a clearer image on what your values are, so you can live more aligned to those values and ultimately feel more fulfilled in your life. If anything in this video speaks to you, I'd love to hear it. Please let me know what landed in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your story, or one way that you plan to practice vulnerability this week. Please go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and turn on your alert notifications so you can be notified once I release my next video. And as always, keep showing up, keep it realistic, and most importantly, keep it you. See you next time.